Well, it has been quite the news day for the Giants and around baseball for that matter. And the Giants are getting underway in just 18 minutes. So we got to do a pretty quick show here. Steven Ruderman here with your Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants pregame show. The Giants, after a really much needed 5-2 win last night, are going to be back at it again tonight. And I got to tell you, it was a really much needed win. The Giants, it really proved to be the difference. Scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning, in which they kept the line moving. They were hitting line drives. They were knocking in runs. It's the kind of baseball that this team was built to play, that they're very much capable of playing, that if they can keep playing consistently, that they can contend and go to the playoffs this season. Rafael Devers got the scoring started with a home run in the bottom of the 2nd inning to tie the game, and Devers is really swinging the bat much better as of late. He went 2 for 4 last night, and he is 8 for his last 23. So really big for Devers to finally start swinging the bat. Willy Adames came into last night's game hitting 194. He had a home run taken away from him by Brian Reynolds in the bottom of the 4th inning. That inning, the Giants would take the lead, but maybe having a home run taken away from him made Adames realize, hey, maybe I need to start hitting line drives. And he had 2 singles. How about that? Willie, make adjustments and you can get out of the slump, kid. But that bottom of the 7th was really awesome. It was Willy Adames who led off the bottom of the 7th with that base hit up the middle, a line drive. Elliot Ramos with a little line drive off the end of the bat down the right field line. Drew Gilbert, ground ball to right field. You know, I talk about line drives. Nothing wrong with ground balls that find holes or ground balls by speedsters that can be legged out. So Gilbert with a base hit to give the Giants another run. Jesus Rodriguez hit by the pitch. Thankfully, it was on the back elbow. Thankfully, he appears to be okay. He is not in the lineup tonight, but no injured list as of right now, so that's a good sign. Luis Arias would knock in a pair of runs with a base hit to right field. And it was really nice. That inning was so much needed. The Giants had some opportunities that they wasted earlier in the game. But you know what also happened earlier in the game? When the Giants took their lead in the bottom of the 4th, Tony put on the hit and run. He did. The hit and run, remember that? And that, along with the fact that there has been a massive resurgence in bunting this season, oh, that just makes my heart so happy. Because, kids, there are far more ways than one to play this great game. Not everything is home runs. And when you do hit the ball on the ground, I know it's a negative launch angle. I know that's scary to a lot of the nerds and the young rich white kids who follow the game today. But, in the right circumstances with the right hitters, it's a great way to win games. And if you can find, there are speedsters who can hit major league pitching, that if they can hit line drives, and if they can hit ground balls and leg them out, they can do both of those things. They're going to be very valuable to a team. I know wins above replacement may, not be kind to that kind of hitting, but screw WAR, because it's a joke stat. And speedsters hitting ground balls, whether they find holes or whether they can be legged out, that wins games. So just a really, not just a much needed win, but a refreshing win. A refreshing win that shows that this team is capable of contending. So as I mentioned, Devers is 8 for his last 23. Of course, after having a 2-hit game last night. Willy Adames with a 2-hit game last night. Elliot Ramos with a 2-hit game last night. So tonight, the Giants are right back at it. Landon Roop will be on the hill, but this was, as I mentioned at the top of the show, quite the news day. So the Giants this morning traded Patrick Bailey. Mike Krukow said some feelings were going to get hurt with the upcoming roster moves, and Patrick Bailey, who came up in 2023, was kind of in the run for Rookie of the Year that year. Gold Glover, great pitch framer, great at throwing out base stealers. With the fact that Jesus Rodriguez is now up and that Daniel Susac is starting to establish himself as the Giants' everyday catcher, though he's doing that right now in Sacramento because, of course, he's rehabbing from an injury. It was inevitable that Patrick Bailey was likely going to be out. It happened this morning. He was traded to the Cleveland Guardians for the 29th overall pick. And before he says, "Oh, you can," I know, I didn't even know till this morning that you could trade draft picks in baseball, but it's, just to clarify, it's only for competitive balance picks. And the Giants also got a young pitcher named Matt Wilkinson. Matt Wilkinson, and he has got an interesting nickname, Tugboat. Matt Tugboat Wilkinson. That's kind of an old school kind of nickname. The kid's from British Columbia. He's 23 years old. He's a left-hander. So not a bad trade. And I feel bad for Patrick Bailey. And it's interesting this happens as the Giants are playing Joey Bart's Pirates over the weekend. And Bart was asked by some reporters prior to the game about this. And he actually talked to Bailey this morning, telling him just, because they were friends in the Giants minor league system. And he was, just giving him advice on how to deal with the trade and telling him just, hey, go get comfortable in Cleveland. All that good kind of stuff. And Joey Bart's another guy I respect. And it sucks that it didn't work out for him either. But that was another trade that was for the best. And, it's interesting. Joey Bart made the team for the Giants in 2024. Did not appear in the team's first two games that year in San Diego. And then they traded him after the second game. So kind of interesting. So just a bunch of interesting things all around. Some unfortunate news. We talked about what could be wrong with Logan Webb. Could it be ABS, which Webb was getting the most amount of called strikes outside of the stupid little box over the last, prior to this season. So definitely a factor. Could he be tipping pitches? Could he be hurt? Well, that appears to be the case. Logan Webb has been placed on the 15-day injured list with knee bursitis. Trevor McDonald, who had his nice start on Monday night, he's been called up. And we'll probably see him pitch tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see him pitch tomorrow. Now, the interesting thing with Bailey being traded, it is not Daniel Susac has been called up. Apparently he needs some more time to rehab. It's Logan Porter, who has been called up from Sacramento. We saw him a little bit in spring training. And Logan Porter, Giants basically have three catchers right now with Rodriguez, Porter, and Eric Hasse. Hasse is in the lineup tonight. Landon Roop is on the mound. Hopefully he can have another, good start against this Pirates team. We'll take a look at the Giants lineup. It will be Jung Hoo Lee to lead off, followed by Luis Arias, Elliot Ramos, Rafael Devers, Bryce Eldridge, the DH who was not in the lineup last night. It's fifth. Willie Adames sixth, Matt Chapman hitting seventh, Drew Gilbert back in center tonight hitting eighth, and the catcher Eric Hasse hitting ninth. Before I forget, Tony Vitello had a very interesting quote last night to describe this team battling from their slump. And I told you, this guy is a quote machine. But he does believe the Giants can turn it around. And I want to show you what he said in the press conference after the game last night. Again, this guy's a quote machine. Just listen to him here. This is truly worth a listen right here.
I think it's a good club, and it doesn't need to be one magic night that does it. And, it doesn't have to be any special play we run or anything like that. We just got to keep our nose down and keep going and choose to be confident showing up to the park every day. And normally if you have a couple walk-off wins in a row and or you have a bunch of games where you beat the hell out of somebody, it's kind of easy to come back into the locker room and be confident. It's not as easy this way, but maybe we get on the other side of the first month or distance ourselves from the first month of the season. It provides confidence that we got some scar tissue to us and we know what it looks like when it really gets tough. And I don't know, Shawshank's a pretty good movie. Sometimes you gotta, Andy Dufresne had to swim through a lot of poo to come out on the other side and see the sunshine. So maybe that's us.
I just love this guy. As I said, just a total quote machine. And a great movie, Shawshank Redemption, by the way, that I actually, believe it or not, finally saw for the first time last September. But that's a great metaphor for this Giants team. And look, I mean, I'm not feeling too great about this season, but if there is a guy who could take a team that's off to a really bad start and take them into contention at the very least, it is Tony Vitello. It is not his fault that this has happened. Tony's done a really good job. And as I've said a gazillion times, Vitello is the long-term guy. He was brought in for the next core. He was brought in as they develop this core and as that core gets ready to compete and go all out come 2029. And it's just, again, it's so good for the game that you have a colorful character like Tony Vitello at the helm for the Giants. And you have seen some of the emotions come out of these Giants players, particularly guys like Ryan Walker, particularly Eric Miller, who hopefully he can come back soon and become the team's closer. And it's interesting because the bullpen has been a lot better than anticipated. I mean, on paper, they came in with one of the worst bullpens in all baseball. And the bullpen it hasn't been great, but they've had, some solid starts in that bullpen. Right now, the starting rotation is really struggling, especially with Logan Webb's tough start. Hopefully, it is an injury that is causing Webb's struggles, and hopefully that can be dealt with, and he can come back after a couple weeks of rest healthier. And by the way, this is the first time in his entire career he's gone on the injured list. But if this team could actually get the offense going, that would go such a long way. Look, I'm not feeling great about the season, but this team does have the talent to, at the very least, contend. And that's what I want. At the very least, give us meaningful baseball in September. At the very least, I get the rebuilding. I get that you're not going to really be going all out to try and win until 2029. But at the very least, give us some meaningful baseball in September. And if there is a guy, as I said, who can right this ship, it is Tony Vitello. Now, speaking of colorful managers, Bobby Cox, one of the greatest managers in the history of the game. The man who steered the Braves to 14 straight division titles, though I put an asterisk next to that one because good chance the Expos would have won the National League East in 1994, died this morning. And Bobby was a very interesting guy. He was ejected more than any other manager in the history of the game. It's interesting, the umpires, for the most part, seem to like him. But the guy, was a fiery guy, had his players' backs, and he had been in failing health for some time. 84 is a pretty damn good life. And for Bobby Cox, a life well lived. And Bobby Cox is the kind of guy and I said this to my grandfather after he died at 92. When you die in your 80s or your 90s after a memorable life, and for Bobby Cox, as I mentioned, the 14 straight, we could say 11 straight division titles, 14 division titles in 15 years, 5 pennants, a world championship in 1995, a trip to the Hall of Fame, being immortalized in Cooperstown. Death is a milestone for a guy like Bobby Cox. It's the end of an incredible life. And it is sad that he is no longer with us, an incredible baseball man who will be missed very, very much. And you don't have very many managers like Bobby Cox today. And actually, interesting thing, Bobby was a coach for Billy Martin in 1977 for the Yankees. Believe it or not. So maybe he got a little of that fire from Billy. I was talking about Billy, of course, a couple weeks ago, and just what a flawed genius that man was. And I also was talking about how I wish Ozzie Guillen could get another shot to manage. So unfortunately, I doubt that's going to happen. But Bobby Cox, 84 years old, he will be truly missed. All right, we got to wrap this thing up. Giants are getting underway in 3 minutes. This has been the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants pregame show. a production of Sports Radio Service. The views and language on this show do not reflect those of Sports Radio Service, their leader, my boss, Lee Leonard, or their advertisers. For Lee, I'm Stephen Ruderman. I hope you enjoyed the show. Now enjoy the game! And let's get a win! Let's make it 2 in a row! All right, take care, folks.